What is going on, everybody? It is episode 768 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. Happy Wednesday. You know, most people, they take Wednesday and they slow down. But
Not
us,
us.
on the other hand, we're just getting started.
Oh, that was good. Plus, it's like 50 degrees out today.
It's a beautiful day.
It is.
It's morning in America, as they keep saying.
Dangerous to be out on the roads, though. It's windy as hell, and I saw cars like swerving.
Yeah, we might have a power outage or something happen during this stream. I really hope not. I'll knock on wood, even though this table isn't made of wood.
It's polycarbonate.
Yeah.
So when we had a power outage earlier, at least it was a short, and it was only affected those two lights and that light over there. I don't think it affected anything, and we've got these on backup batteries, so hopefully
we'll be
okay.
There were just some weird sounds happening, crashing sounds.
If Shane was here, he would attribute that to ghosts.
I'm still going to blame Shane, I think.
Okay. Well,
it's his fault.
We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, as always, guys, hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel if you are new here and have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share the video and the live streams out with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people that you like, people that you don't like. Maybe Superman, even though Superman got a DUI yesterday in an Arby's parking lot. I did see that. It was very sad. Share the videos out with them. The more people you share it with, the faster this channel can grow. So thank you guys so much for that. So what are we getting into today? Well, Captain America has changed his mind. He has decided he does, in fact, bleed red, white, and blue. He got the big call from Bob Iger and said, make this right, Anthony. I don't actually know.
Captain doesn't hate America anymore.
That's exactly what he is, right? So he's Captain doesn't hate America. He's Captain Damage Control. We're going to talk about that. I also want to go into this weird how Marvel is kind of taking it from both sides right now. For a lack of a better term.
Marvel is getting Eiffel Towered by wokeness and anti-wokeness right now.
Yeah, there's some other words for it, but I'll get in trouble. So basically what's going on, guys, is, the people on the right, they're hammering home that they don't want to go see Captain America Brave New World because Anthony Mackie made what were perceived to be anti-American statements that he is now, of course, walking back. Well, on the animated side of things, the lefties are mad at Marvel because the star of the upcoming Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man animated series made comments about how he was so glad that the show didn't end up woke. They race and gender swapped both the Osborns and Kurt Connors, so I don't know if that term necessarily, I don't know if he's right, but I digress. The point being that Marvel can't seem to get anything right, so we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk more, I'm sure you guys love it, about how apparently the New York Times allegedly conspired with Blake Lively to ruin Justin Baldoni's image, giving us to this magical period in time we are right now where right-wing people are defending a male feminist. It's very, very weird, but we're going to talk about it.
Vibe shift. And you know what? I know you're joking, like I'm sure you love it, whatever. People are loving it. To be honest, all of the videos that we're putting out about the Justin Baldoni-Blake Lively battle are doing numbers, and there is genuine interest in it. I haven't been this intensely following one of our recurring topics in a while now. Yeah. I mean, maybe the last time would have been Depp versus Heard. Yeah. Or
even that didn't really interest me in the same way.
Not even the same way as this. Like, this is more interesting because of all of the players that are involved. And, like, Taylor Swift is over here and Ryan Reynolds is over here. And, like, they're all kind of projecting their influence and their power into the situation. Yep. So I like it.
We got that. We're going to get in a bunch of other stuff. We're going to talk. Look, when I got into work today, I was watching the second trailer for the upcoming Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan film Sinners, and it was right after looking at the absolute hullabaloo going on online regarding Calendargate 2.0 or whatever the hell they're doing over there.
We'll get into that more so tomorrow.
But the point being was, I watched the trailer. And it made me ask a bunch of questions that were only tangentially connected to the film. And it kind of hit me that what I love about it is that great art makes you ask questions. Even if it's not necessarily about the script or the story, there's elements of great art that make you think at a deeper level than perhaps just putting on the slop. And you guys know that I love the slop. If you don't know, Sinners is it's an original. I had to look for this. It's not based on IP, which is shocking in and of itself, but it's a new vampire movie written, directed. It's a vampire period piece written and directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. And I want to watch the trailer and I want to get your guys' thought on it, because I hate to be mean, but maybe it is not true when it comes to the realm of comics and graphic novels where conservative artists are doing great work. But when it comes to films, to live action movies, I saw it and thought conservatives could never. So
no, they could never make something that feels like art in this contemporary era.
Yeah, we'll watch it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're ready, Mary, we can get started. You ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. So, most of the time on this channel, we're covering a lot of slop and a lot of actors who don't know how to react to the slop when the slop does poorly. They tend to lash out at audiences. They tend to say that if you don't like their new movie, you are in fact the problem. Well, I am happy to report that today, one of the rare cases of the exact opposite of this has happened, and that is in the form of Lady Gaga, who, if I was to say that this is the gold standard for how you should respond when people look at your art and crap all over it, understanding that art is a risky endeavor and people aren't always going to understand it or like it, that this is the gold standard in how to respond. And the sad thing about it is it's not that complicated.
No,
it's really not.
No, it's not that hard to not blame the audience for your movie failing. And to be honest, it's probably because this isn't Lady Gaga's idea. Mm-hmm. She was just signed on to play a role.
Also,
she's got her baby. She has her own stuff going on.
Yeah, maybe she
acting isn't even her only thing. So this was in a recent interview she did with Elle magazine, and she finally responded at long last to the failure of Joker 2 Folie à Deux. In fact, even in this Variety piece, they're still running damage control for it, saying that it's a critical and box office success.
It was not a box office success.
Honestly, it was neither, from what I remember. But they're just gaslighting us.
They said the 2019 Joker was a critical and box office success, or was a box office success. There's no way you call a $250 million movie that flopped a box office success. Yeah, this is what she said.
She broke her silence on the negative reviews.
She says, people just sometimes don't like some things. It's that simple. And I think to be an artist, you have to be willing for people to sometimes not like it. And you keep going even if something didn't connect in the way that you intended. It's weird. So whenever these artists talk crap about the audience, this is literally in my head when I respond to these things or post on Twitter, this is all you have to say. This is all you have to say. We tried. You didn't like it. We'll try again next time. Maybe you'll like that one.
Did Joaquin Phoenix ever respond to the reception of Joker 2?
I don't think him or Todd Phillips have really said anything about it.
Okay. She added that the fear of failing is what can be most harmful to a person, saying when that makes its way into your life, that can be hard to get control of. It's part of the mayhem. The only other cast member who has spoken about the reception of the film was Tim Dillon, who was merely an extra background actor in the Arkham Asylum with Joaquin Phoenix, saying it has no plot. We'd sit there, me and these other guys were all dressed in security outfits because we're working at Arkham Asylum, and I would turn to one of them and we'd hear this crap and I'd go, what the F is this? And they go, this is gonna bomb, man. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. We were talking about it at lunch and we'd go, what is the plot? Is there a plot? I don't know. I think he falls in love with her in the prison. It's not even hate watchable. That's how terrible it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even hate watchable to the degree that something like Madam Web was entertaining.
Yes,
just because
those
it was
are vastly
bad.
different things.
But then now we have the nominations for the Razzies come out, and Joker 2 is at the very top with the most nominations for Razzies of any other film in 2024.
Perfect.
Nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Actor, targeting Joaquin Phoenix, Worst Actress, targeting Lady Gaga. They also got nominated for Worst Director against Todd Phillips, the Worst Screen Combo being Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, and the Worst Screenplay, as well as the Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, which is pretty much everything that goes to theaters now.
What's funny about it is Halle Berry proved decades ago what a little bit of humility does when you go and accept your Razzie in person and just stand up and say, look, you might have hated Catwoman. I get it. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to take my award.
Why did people hate it?
It was just 2004 superhero slop that it's not even Selena Kyle. It's not Catwoman.
I just see people always reposting Halle Berry's Catwoman
I only
and fawning over it.
I only saw it the one time. Now, there's other movies that came out that time which are similarly disliked that I actually consider, as much as I consider a guilty pleasure, because I don't really believe in the idea of a guilty pleasure. I think if you like it, you don't need to have an explanation. But for instance, I enjoy the Ben Affleck Daredevil, and I enjoy the Jennifer Garner Elektra movies, and I really don't care that they're not that great. I enjoy them a lot, and this is kind of like if you take that type of crap to its logical conclusion and try even less hard, this is that.
I still think the worst mistake they made, whether it was just a full-on intentional rug pull or poor planning, them including scenes in the movie, or in the trailer rather, that weren't going to end up in the movie.
I mean, that's
the
par for the
scenes
course.
where they're on the courthouse steps and both Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga are in the full makeup, the full costumes, kicking their legs up in the air and dancing together.
Does it really bother you
that
didn't
never
end up in the movie?
happened in the movie, and it was intentionally placed in the trailer, I believe, to mislead people into seeing it. And then you go to see it, and there's a total just anticlimactic car crash of an ending. It was awful. It was awful.
I mean, I guess I've never really, look, that's something that Marvel has done for years. They would put scenes in on purpose because they were trying to hide things that were going to happen in the movies. So one of the ones I remember, if I remember correctly, I might have brought this up on the show before. When they were doing the trailer, the initial trailer for Avengers Infinity War, there's a very specific shot of Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, and it goes like this, and you can see the Infinity Stones in the gauntlet. And the number of stones that are in that gauntlet is different than the one that actually ends up in the movie. So it's actually farther along in the trailer image than he is in the film, or maybe it's the other way around, but it's different from that. There were shots of Hulkbuster, I believe, that never made it to the end of the film. But the problem is Marvel is notorious, especially now, for like asking for 30 versions of a scene from the CGI crew, and then something hits the cutting room floor and they just don't use it. And it depends on how early you start releasing trailers, right? If you start putting a trailer out a year before a movie comes out, there's every possibility that it goes through some type of narrative change that makes it less likely that that scene's going to be in there. Now, that's probably less likely for CGI because it's so expensive and action scenes tend to not be cut, I would imagine. You spend more time in pre-production, storyboarding, planning, and executing action scenes. So those you want to keep, whereas narrative story, dialogue, or even a slow motion scene of Joker and Harley dancing down the courtroom steps could just be like, look, they went a different way with how they got out of there. But it's probably not a bad idea for them to have left it in there because everybody hated how he, what happened when the trial was over.
That he just literally got rejected, and then she like lied about being pregnant. Yeah. And then he might have imagined the whole thing. And I mean, that whole ending was just a gigantic question mark. And not Todd Phillips, Tim Dillon was right. Like, is there a plot? I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I want people, look, there's got to be at least somebody here. Maybe pop culture junkie. Somebody who knows somebody famous, an actor, Get them the memo that this response right here from Lady Gaga is literally all they have to do.
Fax it to everyone.
If they want to not, you don't go the Elizabeth Banks route and say, and tell men to not go see your Charlie's Angels movie and then be mad when men don't go see your Charlie's Angels movie. You don't blame the audience when your art doesn't connect. It's your job as the artist to create something that, okay, let me rephrase that. When you're creating mass-produced Hollywood studio art, it's your job to create something that connects with as many people as possible. If you want to make niche art for a small group of people, that's one thing. But when your movie is at the mercy of investors and people who spend millions of dollars to make it, usually that's because those people who spent the millions of dollars want to make millions of dollars back. To do that, it needs to have a broad enough appeal that what you're creating connects with people in some way. Look, a lot of people liked like the Bumblebee Transformers movie as something that was spiritually a lot closer to what the Transformers characters were actually like, and they felt that it was a more grounded story. But the slop that Michael Bay made gazillions of dollars because, let's face it, people love slop. Can't help it.
Just give them what they want.
Give the people what they want. And when it doesn't work, that's okay. You don't need to blame the audience. You don't even necessarily need to prostrate yourself before them. You say, look, we tried. It didn't work. We'll try again next time.
Yeah, I think that Elizabeth Banks is the polar opposite reaction to what Lady Gaga just said. However, she did redeem herself with a completely undeserved second chance making Cocaine Bear.
That is true. She made Cocaine Bear.
Honestly,
all is forgiven.
All is forgiven. It's all water under the bridge at that point.
Man, I forgot about I need to go watch it. I think it's on Peacock. I might have to. I don't have Peacock anymore. I might have to go find and watch that one.
It was better to see it in theaters, though. It felt like an experience.
All right.
A singer named Avery took to Instagram to tell everyone about her horrific experience taking Ozempic off of the black market. She was not prescribed this drug by a doctor, but instead sought it out by other means in order to lose weight when she was not obese or diabetic to start with. In fact, she claims that she was pressured to do this by her record label in order to improve her public image. Now, she has developed a life-threatening bone-thinning disease. She has both osteoporosis and another form called osteopenia. Osteoporosis is mostly irreversible, so she is going to be dealing with the consequences of this decision for the rest of her life. And here she is talking to her fans about it.
Okay.
I just left the doctor's office. I went to get a checkup because I've been off of Ozempic for 2 months now, and I just wanted to see if my body was in better condition, if there were any permanent damages.
She looks
kind of
unwell.
in shock right now because I wasn't expecting this, but I guess Ozempic can
because her
cause
face is hollowed out and she has lip injections.
bone density loss, and I didn't think that that would happen to me because I was only on it for a year. But I have significant bone loss. I have osteoporosis and osteopenia, so I don't know, there's like several of them that I have. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what happens if you use Ozempic for weight loss and you lose too much weight. I just left the doctor's office.
Yeah.
And she goes into more detail.
Right. In this caption, she said, "Please be careful with Ozempic if you're not someone that needs to take it. It's only meant to treat diabetes and obesity. I've done a lot of damage to myself. I want to make it clear that I do have an eating disorder, and I did not get Ozempic from a doctor. It's very easy to get nowadays, and many people with eating disorders are getting their hands on it. I made a mistake. I take responsibility for my actions. Please learn from mine. I have osteoporosis in some parts of my body, osteopenia in others. I'll be going on medication and starting a treatment plan. I'll know more soon. It's not always reversible, but I can do things to improve the situation. At the moment, I have to be very careful as my bones are so brittle, but it's treatable and I will be okay. Thank you for the support." And in a follow-up video, she is fully owning up to the fact that she made this mistake because she's mentally ill. And she's owning up to the fact that she did in fact break the law in order to gain access to this drug off, you know, some kind of black market method that she did not explain for people to copy her actions.
So it's not an ingredient in the drug itself. It's the repercussions of not eating, and suddenly your bones start to demineralize because they're not, you know, you're not drinking any, probably not drinking any water, not probably eating anything with nutrients.
Well, it repulses you to food,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
end up in that situation. I saw Cernovich actually tweet about this, kind of subtweeting this woman. He said, people who never monitored their food go on Ozempic or Mounjaro. Oh, wow, I'm not hungry. They don't eat, they don't lift, they lose bone mass, medicine gets blamed. Pretty silly, especially as a lot of gym bros are on the stuff. So he's saying you can't blame Ozempic when it was really your behavior while
Yes.
on Ozempic
So,
that caused this problem.
back when I was younger and I was prescribed to Adderall, I ate way less. Just did, right? Like because you're prescribed to it and it suppresses your appetite in a lot of ways. So the second you get off of it, like now it's probably not the same thing, because at the end of the day, as long as you because what happens is you start to feel really shitty if you don't eat, and you attribute that to the meds, but really what it is your body starts to dehydrate and you're lacking any nutrients, on top of the fact that you've basically just taken legal speed, which will lead to anyone feeling shitty. But you have to force food down a lot of the time. But then the first thing you notice is, especially if you're taking it properly and you're not taking it times when you don't need it, you're really hungry and you're actually like really excited to eat. And that's a dangerous thing too, because now a lot of people talk about you shouldn't eat for fun, you should eat for fuel. I don't know if I agree with that. Depends. Of course, I you know, say what you want, but the process seems like they don't really gain their appetite back. Like she doesn't like.
You mean after going
like
off of it?
The one did. They talk about what is it? They talk about food thoughts or food
noise.
Food noise. That's the big buzzword now. Food
There's a
noise.
Big difference between food noise and hunger.
And like for me, I was at a much younger age where I was just in general, your body is more resilient, and I was very physically active, so I took pretty good care of myself. But it probably wasn't good to go long periods of time. I guess now I think about it, it's probably more akin to fasting. It was just medically assisted fasting, because I wouldn't eat all day until I got home. Like I was at that time, I was working 8 to 5 and then going to school from 6 to 11. So I wouldn't eat sometimes until I got home. That's not healthy long term.
But ironically, it would actually be safer for someone in this situation to just restrict their diet severely rather than do so with the assistance of Ozempic. Because at least your body has processes that it turns to cope with the fact that it's in a caloric deficit. But when you're on Ozempic, you're mimicking the chemical feeling of being satiated all the time. So your body is probably not responding to it the same way it would otherwise to compensate for that. Do you think it's possible to be like addicted to Ozempic?
I mean, I think it's possible to be addicted to not feeling hungry, to chemically not feeling hungry.
So not Ozempic in and of itself, but just the feeling that it gives you?
I think that a person could very easily get off Ozempic, find Adderall, and be like, sweet, and I've got double the energy.
That's been around for years.
I'm just saying
somehow,
maybe they didn't take it first, right?
Yeah.
Or the opposite. Somebody took Adderall for years and wants to get off of it, but doesn't want to start eating a ton again or something like that. I don't know why you'd want to. I love, like, the second I got off Adderall, I'm like, yes, food, this rules. But, you know.
She claims in another post, my record label told me I was fat. They dropped me. I got addicted to Ozempic, and now as a result have osteoporosis, and my bones are as fragile as wafer cookies, and I spent all my money, I'm guessing spent all of her money on the Ozempic, and I just moved in with my mom at 30 years old. So she emptied her bank account, gave herself a life-threatening, lifelong illness, all because her record label allegedly told her that she was fat and didn't fit the image they were looking for, dropped her, and that was her coping mechanism.
I mean, isn't that pretty much the story of life in Hollywood and the music industry, is how many women have developed eating disorders, how many women got addicted to diet pills, how many women got addicted to stuff like that just because they went out there and there was the beauty ideal that they expected you to meet. It's not pretty, it's not healthy, but that's
so strange, though, to hear people say things like this in 2025. But, I mean, what can you expect?
Yeah.
What can you expect when for 10, 15 years, all of these so-called authorities on health and nutrition, along with celebrities, entertainers, along with the media, all conspired in a lie to tell people that it's not only healthy, but also beautiful to be obese. And people know deep down that they are being lied to. They know that they don't want to resign themselves to living an unhealthy lifestyle that makes them feel and look like shit. So as a result, of course, they're going to go to drastic measures, including purchasing non-prescription drugs off of the black market in order to avoid that.
Yeah. Like, and that's the sad thing is, you know who wins in all of this is the pharmaceutical industry, because you either do the body positivity one and you're on a bunch of medications because you're not actually healthy.
True.
At the very least, you're taking ibuprofen because your knees can't take the weight. Or you go the opposite route and you say, I want to be thin, and then you have to take Ozempic, but nobody other than, and then everybody gets rid. And to be fair, I make fun of it too when people get out and they talk about the diet and exercise. All that stuff is unbelievably important. It's just that a lot of times the people that promote it the most, or the healthy eating, they tend to be overbearing and turn people off of it.
True. And they also lie.
Yeah.
They also lie.
I saw another one of those videos yesterday. It's the combination. It says, like, it's a guy who goes, the best thing you can do in the morning is to drink water. And another guy, and he goes, the worst thing you can do is to drink water in the morning. The best thing you can do, when you get up, the first thing you have to eat is eggs. If you want to die young, the first thing you should do in the morning is eat eggs.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's impossible to navigate the internet to find answers about literally anything, no matter how unimportant or trivial it may be. Whether it's nutrition or politics or religion or I don't even know. Like,
the only way to be happy
the
is
weather.
To not, the only way
you
to be
can't
happy,
find an answer.
The only way to be happy is to not care and not look online. Because you're not like gone are the days.
You have to care.
Gone are the days where you could look for an answer and get an answer. Now you look for an answer and you get 10 answers, and then you have to decide. It is relativism. It is a form of forced social relativism where nothing matters because you're going to get 10 different answers, all of them with somebody who might be a snake oil salesman giving you at least a reasonable sounding explanation as to why their method is the right way. You're better off not looking. Like, if all of the information is in a box, you're better off just not looking in the box.
Social media is just turning into a black hole for actual information and the truth.
It is. All right. Let us move on then. Okay. Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. Massive trigger warning. We do have a $20 super chat before we get into this. Mr. Moose Knuckles said, I just imagine this lady in a full body cast like that one fish in SpongeBob with glass for bones. Actions have consequences, unfortunately. These people never thought about future complications. Keep on kicking butt, PCC.
All right. Let's move on. Again, I'm going to say again. Minor trigger warning, unless you're
major trigger warning.
Unless you're one of those guys who likes to chase grannies. In that case, this might be for you.
Yeah, it's only been a couple of years since Martha Stewart made a huge splash on the cover of Sports Illustrated, taking a sultry swimsuit photo shoot. And now she is doubling down on that sex pot persona, advertising a new makeup line for MAC Cosmetics. The new ad campaign is titled, I Only Wear MAC, meaning she only wears MAC lipstick. Like, that's the only thing she's wearing, okay? You get the picture.
When Mary suggested this topic, I looked to the sky and I said, the things I do for this job.
What I think is like, okay, I am the target demographic consumer for this product, right?
Yes.
I'm a young woman that wears makeup, right?
Yep.
So I'm just thinking, looking at Martha Stewart's tongue doesn't make me want to buy this lipstick. It actually does the opposite.
Yeah.
It makes the opposite effect. Like, I want nothing to do with this lipstick after seeing Martha Stewart licking strawberries on camera.
And I end up suffering.
Doesn't do it for me.
And I end up suffering more than anyone, sadly.
So let's take a look at the video on Twitter. It's getting a lot of attention right now.
Oh, God!
Juicy,
Fuck.
delicious. Hi, I'm Martha
What?
Stewart.
I didn't know it was ASMR. Fuck
No, yeah,
this.
this is for context, Martha Stewart's sexy thirst trap ASMR video. That's what this is.
Editor, producer, can we skip this? I'm the producer. Damn it. Hold
Nope.
on.
No.
What gets me in the nude? How about a strawberry, fresh picked from the garden? Best in the hot sun. Honey, golden amber. Makes a mess. Try eating one of these in a lily white bed. Can't do it. I love the Glide. MAC lipsticks. Smell like vanilla.
I hate it.
I'm not gonna lie. She's gonna need a voiceover artist. She doesn't have the voice for it. Sorry.
Stewart. And I only wear MAC.
She sounds like Glenn Close, or who was in the show Damages? Was that Glenn Close? That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I don't think this was giving what it was supposed to give. I have to wonder who was forced to watch the full 30-minute video and then edit it down to this minute-long video and listen to her moaning for hours in the process. I feel terrible for that person. Give them a raise. Yeah, give them a pension.
So, okay, what were we talking about? Who the hell is this supposed to be for?
This is for MAC Cosmetics. And this is the way, for context, what is most insane to me about this is they're using Martha Stewart's sex appeal to market lipstick to women. How is this the way you market any product to straight women? An old lady making sex faces and moaning on camera.
Like she has a market share for like mimetic existence, like her and Snoop Dogg hanging out, because it goes against her image and it kind of plays, or her old image, and goes and plays into like the look at me, I went to white collar jail.
I'm just saying it's not working for me. And this reminds me of back when we were talking about the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I can look at that and think, okay, I am the target demographic for the product that is being advertised right now, and seeing it on the body of a biologically male model doesn't make me want to buy the underwear. And I'm allowed to say that, and my opinion matters more than everyone else's because they want my money. And similarly to this, I don't get the appeal of Julia Fox getting on the New York City subway butt naked to promote this lipstick. As you can see here, she is butt naked on the subway system, just literally with her whole ass touching the seats.
Very clearly staged.
You're gonna get a disease from that, 100%.
I'm gonna put in for hazard pay. Can I file for hazard pay?
They noted that Julia Fox, the former dominatrix,
Is that true? I didn't know that.
showcased her 5'7" sculpted frame and appeared to be naked as she took her seat on a moving train for the new MAC Cosmetics nudes campaign.
I am sure that it was fake. I am sure that they closed off the car and there was bodyguards.
I certainly hope so.
And waivers to be signed. Otherwise, what she's doing is illegal.
Yes.
So, granted,
as if the
it's
shenanigans going on the New York City subway system weren't bad enough.
Granted, the fact that she's on the New York City subway system doesn't exactly mean that crime is going to be punished. People just get lit on fire there all
I guess
the time.
she was just butt naked and decided to jump the turnstile too.
That's what they should have done. They should have done like her jumping the turnstile and then a bunch of like dorky cops are like running after her.
Right.
And they can't catch her because they're fat and overweight, not
Love it.
shape.
Love that idea. And then I look at MAC Cosmetics' Instagram profile, and their bio just says all ages, all races, all genders. Like, this is your tagline for a makeup company where 99% of the people buying your products are straight women. And then I looked at the comments.
Yeah, but the thing is straight white Western women love that stuff. They love inclusivity.
Well,
buzzwords.
I've been hearing about a vibe shift, Brett.
Yes,
I have
that's
been
true.
hearing about a vibe shift, and I'm just waiting for it to take full effect so I don't have to see this shit anymore. One of the comments on this post of Julia Fox said, "This nudity is merely a depiction. The real purpose is to highlight women's freedom and courage in society."
I will give them this.
Wait, hold on. "No matter who you are or what you have been through, we stand with you. Those who choose to see something else might be missing the point."
I will give them this. They always have like an artistically designed explanation for why they do what they do.
And that was it?
Yeah, that
We're
was it.
depicting
It's about freedom.
women's freedom and courage to be butt naked with their whole cheeks touching the subway car seats.
Correct.
That's our freedom.
It's about freedom. Hugh Hefner had it right back in the 80s.
And the trade-off is that I have to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just, it does feel patronizing.
I will give Martha Stewart credit for, you know, she's kind of like Snoop Dogg in that she's done what she needed to do in life, and she really is just kind of, she's just doing side missions now. For the most part, she's doing side missions, and she doesn't need to do any of this. And she does have more charisma than most people.
I'll give her that. She has charisma. She clearly has a charm about her. I did not want to see that video, though. And I am generally tired of everything being so hypersexualized, but especially marketing campaigns. And, you know, in this age of women's liberation, it only hypersexualized women, really. Like, you can see an ad for a purse and it's a naked woman like holding a purse, or it doesn't matter what it is. You're just gonna have nudity and sex shoved in your face.
I'm picturing like
at all times
Julia Fox being pulled off the subway like it's an episode of South Park and says, "Excuse me, I thought this was America."
Wait, what?
No, it's a meme. Never mind.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's the point being that you know, this is exactly what I expect from modern day advertising campaigns. Though, like we said the other day, it feels like all of these things are in a society that's both more guarded and sexless than ever before. It's shoved in your face everywhere by a bunch of corporate, you know, businesses that have agencies and intimacy coordinators and lawyers on retainer to prevent themselves from getting in trouble for putting it in your face.
This is something I've noticed with makeup like many times. There's this other brand called NARS, and
NAR.
NAR, and they have these blush shades that they call all of this disgusting vulgar stuff. Like they have a shade of blush for women called Deep Throat. They have another shade that's called like Orgasm.
Yeah.
And like they just put this right out in the open at Sephora while the 12-year-old girls are sent there by their parents, and they're like buying all of these products to become beauty influencers on TikTok. Like, the world is just so dark.
Yeah.
It's so dark.
It is.
I want out.
All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Let's start with cute.
Cute. All right. Well,
I think we started with cringe the last couple of days.
All right. We will do one today. This one is from David Dorr. It says, "This is Bigsby, my 7-year-old cat, cone of judgment staring down."
I love it. He looks like a dunce cap.
He looks judgmental. His eyes are furrowed.
I love it.
I like it. All right. Let's do cringe of the day here, ladies and gentlemen.
This is not even close to as bad as the Martha Stewart video. We're fine.
What can I get for you?
Can I get a milkshake?
I'm sorry, we don't have any ice cream right now.
Bro, I would never want to be a drive-through worker now who just get made fodder for content.
Can I get anything else for you? Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get?
Ah,
This other
big super chat there.
Oh, from what is it, Mr. Wombat? Please put this towards Brett's hazard pay. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll make
Thank
sure
you.
to do that. We'll allocate those funds.
Makes me think of the song "Moving to New York" by the Wombats. So,
Oh, I love that song.
remember that?
That's a bop.
Moment in
Yeah,
time.
Definitely.
Long time ago. All right. Well, I think we should just go ahead and get started then. So, not that long ago, guys, and by not that long ago, I mean yesterday, we talked about the fact that Anthony Mackie, who is starring in the upcoming Marvel film Captain America Brave New World, put his foot in his mouth and made statements that were thought to be anti-American while promoting his Captain America movie. And after a ton of backlash all over the internet all day yesterday, it seems as if he might have gotten the call from Mr. Bob Iger himself. Maybe Kevin Feige himself called him and said, "Anthony, you got to fix this." And he did so in the way of an Instagram story post.
It's kind of like the way Bob Iger called Rachel Zegler after Trump's election. And he was like, hey, you need to like apologize to all of those Trump voters that you
We
called
need their money.
pieces of human garbage yesterday because we kind of need their money. Yeah. But here was his Instagram story post, clarifying, but really backtracking his previous comment about Captain America not representing America. He said, "Let me be clear about this. I am a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is the honor of a lifetime. I have the utmost respect for those who serve and have served our country. Cap has universal characteristics that people all over the world can relate to."
What's weird is, so the number one way that people seem to continually try to purposely misunderstand that is they think that people who are critical of what he said yesterday are conflating it with Captain America being synonymous with the government, as I tried to put into painstaking detail yesterday when I explained the way Captain America and Nick Fury differed on their perspectives on Project Insight and the use of force, premeditated force, premature force against people who had not committed crimes yet. You know, terrorists in theory. They had very different ideas about concepts of freedom and security, and that's okay. That's a good thing. He often comes face to face with the government, but that's not what Captain America is supposed to represent. He is supposed to represent the best of American ideals, and even a character that was created as wartime propaganda has evolved to mean more than that. You don't represent the U.S. government, because nobody in the real world, nobody in their right mind would want you to be somebody that represents the U.S. government. Everybody knows that the U.S. government, like every government, is corrupt on some level or not. What they want you to represent is the people, the ones who are often left behind by the government. And I think that it's stupid that people conflate this and do so. I mean, maybe on purpose, maybe they just are thinking on a different wavelength. But I think actually a lot of people probably agree. They just come down on different sides of what Anthony Mackie said.
Thank you. I like my suitcase. I don't care what anyone says. I love this. What just happened? Did you bump it up?
No. What I unmuted some of the secondary mics.
Thank you for the first crisis party.
For the suitcase.
I think it's pretty clear that Anthony Mackie's remarks, they mark a deliberate steering away from what was originally intended with this character. Do you know what year the Captain America was first created?
40s, I believe.
In the 40s.
I could be wrong about that, but I thought
and that's why
40s.
you say wartime propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
and it can
he
evolve over time, and that's fine.
He has punched Nazis and communists.
Yeah.
People always tend to forget that he punched communists.
I saw Adrienne Curry tweeting about this, saying, "I hope this bombs into oblivion. I sat on a panel with Stan Lee telling a crowd that Captain America is the living embodiment of the American spirit. This guy is insta-clown." He beclowned himself.
Notice He said American spirit, not American government. In fact, it's probably
I think there's some intentional obtuse.
Or it's a Rorschach test. It's like you see what you want to see. Somebody hears America and they instantly think American government, or they instantly think Captain America as a representative of American politics, not representative of the American people who he is protecting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Is this going to have a real effect on the performance? I still doubt it.
Look, the movie wasn't projected high anyways. I mean, the box office, the opening weekend box office,
started flapping his jaw.
The opening weekend box office was over was under $100 million anyways domestically. So it wasn't looking for a great opening, and $180 million or $100 million doesn't go as far as it did 10 years ago.
Especially when they've spent way more than
people
they want you to think on this movie.
People were also bringing up statements that made Captain America, or that Chris Evans made back in 2011, which were also watering down Captain America's ideals. But guess what? Social media wasn't what it is today in 2011. And if he had said those statements in current year, if he was still Captain America, he would be raked over the coals the same way that Anthony Mackie is.
What were those remarks?
I don't have them pulled. I can.
Do you know like kind of the general?
Well, yeah.
Sentiment?
Hold on, I'll see if I can find them here. So.
Okay. Because I didn't hear about any of that being brought up in this conversation.
It was it was more of it getting into it. So let's talk about the Spider-Man stuff. Look, when it comes to Captain America, the movie itself is on a bad track anyways. It's fair of him to try and save it. I don't think it's going to work, but I don't think that his comments are really going to play a large role. Like I said, when I talked to when I was at the doctor yesterday, I said, there's a new Captain America movie come out. They go, another one? They had no idea what I was talking about. So, like, his statements and celebrity statements on these types of things don't have the impact that people think it does. But there is more to this, because it is not just right-wing people who are calling for boycotts of Captain America Brave New World. We also now have people on the left side of the political spectrum that are mad at the star of the upcoming Spider-Man series. The first 2 episodes just dropped of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is an animated series on Disney Plus, because he said that my biggest fear was that it was gonna be annoying and woke.
This was in an interview with Collider, which definitely has a slant.
They threw this dude under the bus so hard he got tire tracks from all 4 tires.
Collider's Mike Thomas sat down for a chat with Hudson Thames, and he asked what it was like having a chance for a fresh take on Spider-Man in a world featuring characters never before seen in the MCU, like Norman Osborn and Lonnie Lincoln, and his answer might shock you. Okay, Hudson Thames said, I thought it was awesome. I mean, my biggest fear was that it was going to be annoying and woke, and it wasn't. And I was like, yeah, this is great. It's so well written. It feels real. I'm the oldest of 5 boys, so I feel like I kind of know what's happening in their lives and in high school, and it felt like it was doing that justice. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what he really meant by the word woke in that statement, but Collider decided for him to explain.
I'm telling you right now, they threw this kid, he's not a kid, he's 30, but they threw him under the bus.
They say in this article, woke is a term which is more often than not used as a dog whistle for racism and sexism in entertainment fan bases. Thank you for clearing that up. So that essentially means Hudson Thames is dog whistling his racist and sexist views?
This is also bullshit. Guys, if you want to see a fantastic example of how Hollywood is actually gaslighting you right now, go watch the 2011 SNL skit Levi Wokes, where they do a woke advertising campaign for Levi jeans, sizeless, colorless, gender neutral denim. They know what they're talking about. They're not stupid. They think you're stupid, and they're gaslighting you.
We have a 20 from Mr. Mooseknuckle. They set up Bucky in all the other Cap movies to take over the mantle, but because modernism, they had to throw out all that build-up. Bucky should be Cap. Is this generally how people feel at this point?
Yes, a lot of people believe that, given the fact that Bucky and Steve Rogers grew up together, and Bucky has a long journey back from what happened to him with the super soldier serum and to be turned into an asset of a foreign government, and all the mind control. That the real way to bring his character to a crescendo would have been for him to have the mantle passed to him. I don't even like the idea of passing the mantle at all. I would rather they just tell Bucky and Falcon stories rather than carry on Captain America from an obscure comics run.
Be honest. Is Anthony Mackie a diversity hire?
No, he was hired as Falcon, and he's one of the best parts of those.
What I mean by that is, would he have gotten to star in the next official Captain America movie if it weren't for his race? I mean, I honestly don't think that he would have.
Here's the thing. They did a Shang-Chi movie. You're telling me you can't do a Falcon movie? Falcon had way more pedigree and way more clout than Shang-Chi did with the actual traditional Marvel fan base, or I'm sorry, the MCU fan base, meaning that the moviegoers, not the comics fans, right? So all the people who watched the MCU up through in Endgame know who Falcon is because he's so closely connected to Cap, and he had great secondary roles. Now, if I'm being honest, I never thought of him as a lead in one of these movies. When I think of like a great character that came in as a lead, or who started out as a secondary character that became a lead, it's Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, who comes in Captain America Civil War and has an unbelievable debut, has one of the best line deliveries at the end when he's talking to Zemo, and then transitions into making his own solo film and does so very, very well. Anthony Mackie didn't feel like he was coming in to play Falcon to then transition into making his own movies. He felt like somebody who was there to really draw the best out of Captain America's character. Now, that's not to say that he couldn't have done it, but Bucky had a much more clearly felt storyline. Like, you could see it. Like, if the idea is like, you can ask a normie, like, which one of these seems like it's the one that's going to transition into their own movie, it's Bucky.
Back to Spider-Man, I did find the left-wing response that you were referring to. This person on X said, Stan Lee literally said bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today, and Hudson Thames is out here saying he was worried about Spider-Man being too woke. What a dipshit.
Again, not understanding that, first of all, you can talk about all of those themes and make something that people will still like.
But then a right-wing
Batman
response.
the Animated Series has a strong critique of unfettered business and capitalism, you could say, but people love that series because it's done well.
This is another response saying, if this show came out before the election, there's no way he would just say this in an interview. The overall vibe shift. The vibe shift,
there's that term again,
since November has been so palpable. I know some people online are mad about it, but the fact that a relatively young actor felt fine saying this is telling. And you could think that this tweet came from a right-wing person. This is actually another left-wing response agreeing that wokeness is dead, and it's gotten to a point where you can beat the dead horse of wokeness.
Here's the problem. They race swapped the Osborns, and they race and gender swapped Kurt Connors, the Lizard. So, you know, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, you're not going to escape those allegations of, again, that word, woke. I hate that word. But when you race and gender swap characters that blatantly, major characters, people are going to question why.
Yeah.
And
I think that's fair.
And I do have what the statement that Chris Evans made back in 2011. And again, I believe that if he made this statement now, there's every bit of the possibility that he could have gotten pushback for it. He says, this was from an interview he did with CBR. He says, I'm not trying to get too lost in the American side of it. This isn't a flag-waving movie. It's red, white, and blue, but it just so happens that the character was created in America during wartime when there was a common enemy. He went even further, suggesting it feels more like he should be called Captain Good. I mean, he should have been fired just for saying that. Like,
Captain Good.
Captain Good. He says he feels like he should have been called Captain Good, explaining that while Cap dresses in the American flag, the character's creation is rooted in opposing undeniable evil, well, rather than promoting nationalism. Here's the problem. Nowadays, we live in the social media information warfare age where undeniable evil is described as vastly different things by vastly different groups of people. You could actually make the argument that in current year, like, information warfare is a far more interesting storyline if you want a really, really in-depth world of the grays. But if you want to tell black and white stories of good and evil, you need a character like Captain America to have civic pride and care about people and have an evil that is notable and obvious. Now, I remember that dude who was starring in The Acolyte said, one thing I love about Star Wars is like the gray, and it's not like good and evil. I'm like, it's literally the dark side.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about, you numbskull? Like,
Spoken like someone with a squirrel on a control panel for a brain.
yeah. Look, the Spider-Man one, I don't know. It's an animated series on Disney Plus. What's odd is like, so I actually imagine that the audience for Spider-Man, if the show is good, will show up either way. But if it's got the race and gender swaps and people feel like they're being fed a bunch of propaganda, they might look away from it. But the audience might be more uniquely hurt by his statements because it's a uniquely online audience.
Yeah.
Whereas the general audience that's going to go see Captain America probably has no idea what Anthony Mackie is talking about. It would be really funny if they did like a bunch of reviews where they go into it and they get there and they're like, the hell is Steve Rogers? But they like the movie anyway. So I'm still going to go see it. It really did annoy me yesterday, as I've told you guys endlessly. Like, look, I'm one of those people where actors say stupid shit, doesn't bother me. It's a little bit more dicey when it's directly related to a movie they're making. Like, I can forgive an actor who has like for instance, we talked about Lady Gaga earlier having that good take. She's also saying a bunch of stuff about Trump and a bunch of like Madonna, right? They could say all the stupid stuff they want about Trump. I don't care. It's not connected to their work. When the stupid stuff they're saying starts connecting to their work, it may not stop me from going to see it, but I get why it stops other people from going to see it.
Right, yeah.
So, all right.
All right, let's read some super chats. Shane H. Wilder said, happy Wednesday, Brett and Mary. Idris Elba was on the BBC saying kitchen knives should be rounded to protect against violence. I'm glad I'm in the USA where I don't have to use a butter knife for steak.
Oh.
Wow, is that real? I didn't hear about that.
It's very British of him to say that.
You have your butter knife license.
You got a license for that knife. It's so funny too because I remember when they did the initial trailer for Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad that Idris Elba was in, but the first one, the one that Will Smith was in. There's this shot of Amanda Waller eating a steak, and the steak knife is just comically large.
I don't remember that.
It's really fun. Like it looks almost. It might have just been like the focal length of the camera, but it's like I'm looking at it.
Maybe she just has small hands,
and it looks massive.
Or a small steak.
And just imagine that in Britain, where knife attacks are just happening constantly.
It's because people are eating too much steak.
They want those actors. They want that nanny state government that tells you what to do and keeps you safe from yourself.
What an idiot. Brian Bledsoe said, I thought tomorrow would be the Battle of the Bretts, but Brett Cooper's show starts 2 hours earlier. Crisis averted. All hail PCC.
That is good.
Oh, I was confused for a second because I thought you meant that she was doing her first episode today, but it is actually tomorrow.
I did see her trailer for her new show. There's some high production value in that.
Yeah, she must have a really good team.
See, the problem is if I was to ever create something like that, I don't know any like inspirational quotes that aren't super normie. All my inspirational quotes would be very like I would just use like I have a dream and have nothing to do with it.
It would just be like
I'd like insert an inspirational quote here. It'd have nothing to do with my life.
The I have a dream speech, and it's clips of you like skating.
Yeah.
But like falling while skating.
Please stop. No. All right. Let's do two more.
Cleggy said super chat to make Brett say, guys, it's official, woke is dead.
It's not dead though.
They want you to say it. They paid $5 for you to say that. They really want
wait,
you
what
to
am I
say.
supposed to say?
Guys, it's official, woke is dead.
Guys, it's official. Woke is dead.
You sound really sad about woke being dead. Shouldn't you be happy?
It's not dead.
Are you sure?
I mean, let's be real. Like, stupid Hollywood stupidness is why we have a job, so...
It will stay that way for the foreseeable future.
And
I think it's naive. It is naive to think that it's all over now, guys. Like, the culture war is...
We woke up one day and everyone was just good again.
We just won. Like, I think that's a little bit naive, and it just means that maybe they're just going to come up with a better strategy to subvert.
It's like the Chris Rock skis. Like, yeah, we won. We won. What the fuck did we win?
Yeah, we didn't win. Pop Culture Junkie said, choice, being in charge of talent handling and the PR at Disney or cleaning public toilets without a brush. I'll take the toilets. What do you think, Brett? Which one would you take?
The first one. It would make me way more money.
I would love doing the first job, to be honest. Like, as I said, doing crisis PR would kind of be my element.
Yes, you would love that.
And, like, jury duty. I've been waiting. I have been
the
waiting to get
summoned. On earth is like, Mary gets the summons and she's like, she goes in there like making sure she says everything right so that she gets selected.
Speaking of which, I hope I get a summons for this jury trial.
Yes.
A trial date has just been set for the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni legal battle. A judge set their trial date for March 9th, 2026. I don't want to wait that long, but they say the date could be canceled if both sides reach a settlement before then. In all likelihood, that will be the way this shakes out, but we don't know how long it will take. And in the meantime, internet sleuths are going to do their damnedest to solve this case all on their own.
Yes, they are.
And they just found out some really insane information about the New York Times piece that was intended to smear Justin Baldoni on behalf of Blake Lively's allegations. So, just to retrace our steps here, I would like to make some mentions of dates and times. Blake Lively filed her civil complaint against Justin Baldoni on December 20th of 2024. But the New York Times piece that came out after her complaint was on the 21st of December 2024. And the title of it was, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine. Private messages detail an alleged campaign to tarnish Blake Lively after she accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us." This is authored by New York Times writers Megan Twohey, Mike McIntyre, and Julie Tate. This is on the 21st of December, literally just a day after Blake Lively's complaint. This is before she even filed the lawsuit. And it turns out that TikTokers are doing the real investigative work here.
Of course they are.
As they usually do.
There's a 20 here from Andrew Yu.
Let me see. One idea that I see lacking in media is the good king, someone in a position of power, father, government, or otherwise, who is so good and righteous that you're willing to live and die for them. A past example would be Aragorn.
I mean,
this is saying it's 1 out of 2 messages, and I don't see the second one.
I mean, in most contexts, I mean that would have to be the like a fantasy story, right? Because the idea that you can have an amalgamation of people that make up a government and create something universally good is obscenely unrealistic.
I'm wondering when the second message is going to come.
We can just read it. That's fine.
Other examples would also include stuff like Andy Griffith, or in most extreme cases would also include someone like Superman.
Well, yeah, then that's fantasy, and that's the point, right? Superman and Captain America are supposed to represent high ideals. It's supposed to want to inspire you. The same way that the physical fitness of male superheroes makes men feel it's aspirational to men, the context of who they are as individuals and their ability to strive to make it through adversity and always focus on succeeding despite the circumstances is something to live up to, even if it's in a more mundane fashion in your everyday life. Maybe going toe-to-toe with your boss over something isn't as interesting or something like that, or fighting for something that you want to accomplish, or going to the gym and overcoming something as silly as maybe you're eating too much, or maybe you're not reaching your fitness goals or something like that. Those ideas can mean more than just the end of the world and government corruption.
Well, I also think that not every protagonist needs to be an anti-hero who is morally gray.
Well, they've gotten obsessed with that.
They are obsessed with that trope, and I would like it to be retired already. But the Daily Mail reported, and I would also like to give credit to Candace Owens for also talking about this on her show. Explosive clue that the New York Times prepped Blake Lively's sexual harassment report before her civil complaint was public. Essentially, the theory is that Blake Lively's legal team was colluding with the New York Times before her civil complaint was ever released in order to have a coordinated attack on Justin Baldoni from both her legal complaint and the media. So allegedly, New York Times started prepping their bombshell report on Blake Lively's harassment claims against Baldoni at least 5 days before her lawsuit was in the public domain.
Yeah, reiterate that. 5 days.
At least 5 days. It could have been even longer that they were talking with each other and colluding with each other, sharing information with each other. So this is because it ended up being that TikTokers went to the New York Times piece and checked the metadata on the images that they created, that their graphic designer created for the purpose of this report. A composite image of the It Ends With Us co-stars that was created for the article has a December 16th, 2024 date embedded in its URL. That might suggest that the New York Times staffers had advanced knowledge of Blake Lively's complaint and had a story ready for publication when she filed it on December 20th. The Times report was published the day after. Yeah. Any such coordination on Blake Lively's part would undermine her central claim that it was Baldoni who was scheming with his media partners to trash her reputation rather than the other way around. It could also hand Justin Baldoni more ammunition against the New York Times, who he is suing for defamation for $250 million, claiming that its reporting was rife with inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and omissions. I want to show a TikTok that explains this detail. They must have overlooked this when they published the article and didn't expect people to look into it this deeply.
I now have extremely compelling evidence that Blake Lively actually gave New York Times her complaint before she filed it with the Civil Rights Department. This comment says, "This is great research. I don't suppose anyone has checked the metadata on the images in the New York Times article. You beautiful genius." But it wasn't the metadata where I found the date. It's the fact that New York Times labels their hosted images with dates. And this image, if you follow the images linked in the New York Times article, each image is hosted with its own link. And if we zoom in right here, you can see that says December 16th, 2024, which means that unless New York Times mislabeled the date for this, New York Times had Blake Lively's complaint for at least 5 days before they published the article. And it's not just this one. All of the graphics that they used are hosted like that. This one is dated December 20th, December 18th, and then this one is from the 21st. There was no date attached inside the actual metadata.
We're not going to do that anymore.
Maybe I'm just not technically advanced enough to be able to find that. Why does any of this matter? Well, because Blake Lively's team are trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team are the first people that leaked this information to the press. And yet somehow on the 16th of December, they're able to make the headline image. We already knew because of the timeline, New York Times essentially had to have it in advance. Now I feel like we just know a little bit better about when they definitely had it by. I think this is proof that they had it at least before the 16th of December because they did have to develop this graphic. And by the way, it's really important who gave it to the media first, not who published it first, because the actual rule of professional conduct, Rule 3.6, which Blake Lively's team is trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team violated, in the part where it talks about when you can defend yourself, a lawyer can make a statement to protect their client if there's a publicity not initiated by the lawyer or the lawyer's client. Not initiated. And I think initiated is the important word. It doesn't say published, it says initiated. And if the New York Times started making graphics for their articles by the 16th of December, I think it is very clear who initiated the release to the media. I mean, it was clear before this, but now we at least have a date. Okay, Levy.
Yeah. So this is damning for Blake Lively's claim that Justin Baldoni was orchestrating the hate campaign against her rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
It's just outright it's proof. I don't even think that Baldoni's team would have found this on their own. They had to rely on TikTokers,
sleuths,
to do the work for them.
Yep.
It's insane. And on top of that, now that the New York Times is getting sued by Justin Baldoni as well, the author of that report, Megan Twohey, is backtracking on her earlier claims. In this video I'm about to show you, Megan Twohey, the author of that New York Times article, basically claims it as fact that Justin Baldoni was guilty of orchestrating a hate campaign against Blake Lively. So let's listen to that first.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Of turmoil behind the scenes. In a legal complaint Lively filed on Friday, private text messages and other documents that we've obtained reveal what really happened. A campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director, and Jamie Heath, the producer, had engaged in misconduct while shooting the film. Of turmoil.
So that's a statement of fact. That is not saying allegedly this, allegedly that, suggests this or suggests that. She is literally just echoing the exact same claims as fact that Blake Lively was making in her lawsuit. And now, in a recent podcast appearance, that same New York Times author, who is under fire and possibly going to get sued for millions of dollars, is suddenly not sure what happened. She's like throwing up her hands and she's like, I don't know. It's impossible to know.
I mean, that's what you do when you go in front of Congress, right? You say, to the best of my knowledge, I don't remember. I can't recall.
This is her latest quote. We don't know. We can't be sure. But last August, after the film premiered, instead of the negative press that Justin Baldoni feared, there was a flood of negative press and comments online instead about Blake Lively. So you see Baldoni vacillating. You see Melissa Nathan, who is Justin Baldoni's PR rep, responding. But, Megan, do we know actually whether the online backlash against Blake Lively is the result of Justin Baldoni's team? She said, we don't. I mean, it's difficult to know how much of the backlash was authentic and how much they might have seeded or amplified the discussion. But what we do know is that in addition to the backlash against Blake Lively, by the end of the movie's promotional run, there was also a very strong pro-Justin Baldoni narrative online, which his team was celebrating. Mm-hmm. For instance, one PR person texts Melissa Nathan, this is again Justin Baldoni's PR rep, the narrative online is so freaking good and fans are still sticking up for Justin. You did amazing work. Melissa Nathan replied saying, narrative is crazy good. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them.
Yeah.
So she completely walked back her earlier statement of fact that Blake Lively was the victim of a hate campaign orchestrated and paid for by Baldoni.
Think it's too little too late?
Well, it's hard to say because New York Times hasn't lost a lawsuit in like a gazillion years.
Yep.
Like they're just lawyered up to the gills.
Yep.
They don't exactly, I don't know if maybe they'll just give him a settlement.
Oh yeah, I mean
that won't probably go to trial.
I mean, but his if I'm him, but
Blake
for
Lively.
him, like he's not exactly in the same situation that like a Johnny Depp was in, where for Johnny Depp he doesn't need the money; it's about vindication for his name. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, his name has already been vindicated in a way. At least the public sentiment is on his side, and maybe the idea is like, look, I don't know if I can take on the 10,000 lawyers that the New York Times has got. Like a lot of times they'll just run out the clock. They'll just keep you in court forever until you're out of money. He runs a production company. He's got other things he wants to do in his life. He's got a family. Maybe he settles out of court, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't nearly as settled for Johnny Depp. I remember just even while the trial was still going, there was a pretty vocal support for Amber Heard still online. Yeah. There were still many people who were fully convinced that he was guilty of everything she said he did. Yep. So at this point, I'm seeing almost complete and total support for Justin Baldoni and hate against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
I see a couple people in the chat who are still team Blake.
Do we have Team Blake? What are they saying?
Somebody said, after you finished, they said, I'm still Team Blake on this one.
Oh, why? I would love to know like your reasons for that. I don't even care enough about like having a personal loyalty to either person in this situation. That is weird, and that's a parasocial relationship. And I think they're both really annoying.
Yeah.
For the record, like Blake Lively is obviously a Hollywood airhead with a massive ego who sounds and looks super annoying, has a track record of being rude to peasants, the commoners.
Yeah.
And then Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, isn't that much better because he is a dyed-in-the-wool male feminist who thought that it was going to pay off for him, and he got the lesson that he needed to know, you know, nice guys finish last, dude. That's not the way you conduct yourself in a professional situation, and you were misguided.
There's a lot of team don't care in the chat.
That's okay, too.
That is okay, too. We get it. All right.
But, I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of people who really care about this story. I've noticed every video we put out on this is getting a lot of views. So it's a matter of public interest.
All right, let us move on.
Shane H. Wilder said, using Ozempic as an easy way to lose weight only to get a disease that normally affects the elderly who are prone to being calcium deficient is sad. And then he said, wait, not wait. I is stupid sometimes. No apology for the typo. I just read it the way it's said. But yeah, I mean, it's not just stupid. It's like mentally ill. Like maybe you need to be stopped.
Yeah.
But she was willing to admit that at least. Value in You said Brett and Matty?
Matey?
I don't know what that is. What is your guys' workout / nutrition routine?
Mary,
Brett, you have one. I don't.
I do not.
You do. You have a workout routine.
No, actually, I made like a very long Instagram post yesterday, like a story post about how. So since tearing the joint in my AC joint in my shoulder, I haven't been able to skate, and the weather has been so nice that it's actually a bit like torture to go outside every day knowing I would like to go out and skate, and I cannot because I'm still injured, though I'm probably on the far side of that and probably can start skating again fairly soon. But for the most part, I don't have a routine. The worst part is when you have one activity that you really, really do prefer. Like, I don't enjoy jogging, I don't enjoy running. Weights.
Heard those aren't even good for you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, especially for your knees and stuff, right? But like free weights, stuff like that, sure, but it never sticks like for periods of time, a month at a time. But skating is how I've always gotten my physical activity because it's tied directly to creativity, and there's just something about that when you do something for 25 years, it's hard to get away from it. But I've eliminated soda from my diet, and I've been trying to drink more water at home as much as I can, and cut out as much bread as I can. Like instead of eating like cheeseburgers, I just get burger patties and eat that without the bread or the cheese.
You're
stuff
just
like that.
taking all the fun out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Other than that, if there's one thing I could do better, it would be to eat healthier, but I don't. I should, but I don't.
Well, I have zero workout routine. I do not work out, and I also don't want to. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. I'm just not going to do it. And my nutrition is literally just
Taco Bell.
Like Taco Bell. I mean, I don't know. I just eat very few calories a day, and seems to be working for me so far.
Let's do two more.
Pop Culture Junkie said, buckle up, folks. When Ozempic is available in pill form in a year or two, the law of unintended consequences could bite us in the ass. Thank you.
Should get a third crisis party so Mary can dance again.
Do you think that they're going to make Ozempic in pill form?
Probably.
Is that even possible? I'm sure they're working on it currently.
Probably.
But then it's going to be like all bets are off. At that point, you're going to see like husbands sneaking it into their wives' sandwiches.
He's like, honey, look over there. Don't do it.
Yeah, for sure. Shane H.
Okay, I just want to point out. So, somebody said, Theory of a Tortured Mind says much better volume. That's literally because I unmuted mics 2 and 3.
Should we just do that from now
2
on?
and 3 so that it would and mic 2 for guest 1 is directly by the speaker. So
Okay, maybe we should just unmute that one from now on.
yeah.
Just put it really close up to the speaker too.
Yeah.
Blow out their eardrums. Shane H. Wilder said, make it stop, make it stop. Wait, make what stop? I don't know what you mean.
I don't know.
The Martha Stewart thing?
Do what you
Dr.
want.
Freakhoff said, imagine the Crypt Keeper doing this ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
We have several more, actually. Chris Welch said, Martha should shill for Harrah's. Harrah's not the only place in town with the loosest slot. Oh.
Ugh. All right, let's hold off. Let's come back after the fact. All right, guys, I want to talk a little bit about an upcoming movie from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan entitled Sinners. It comes out, I believe, April 18th, and this is the second trailer that came out for it. And one thing that I always like to applaud is, look, the creation of a great trailer is a beautiful thing. We joke about it sometimes on here because we joke about the low bois and the formulaic nature of trailers. But one of the things about great art is it makes you think and it gets you deeply invested in what you're watching. And while I was watching this, I was into it, and I wanted to watch the trailer and discuss this and kind of the state of art, as it connects to the left and the right, because I do think this is something we're going to talk more about tomorrow. But let's watch the trailer. I want to know what you guys think about it, because this is an upcoming vampire genre film from Ryan Coogler. It is not based on an old IP, which is rare enough as it is. He wrote and directed this film, and I would be interested to see what you guys here who are watching live think about it.
This
So,
was also
here we go.
starring Haley Steinfeld,
Yep.
and I saw a ton of people just losing their minds for vampire Haley Steinfeld in this movie. And I also want to mention, it's kind of funny how the vampire genre has this huge resurgence right now with Nosferatu, but also there was the Renfield movie last year.
Yep.
And there are others I'm sure I'm forgetting at this moment. There was another Dracula one. Do you remember that one? That was also last year as well. I forget the name
That's
of
because
it.
it's a resurgence post-Twilight of traditional vampire stories.
What's that about?
I mean, what I think part of it is people want to make stuff that are period pieces.
Maybe.
I mean, the Renfield wasn't a period piece. I don't believe so, but the rest of them period pieces. So
Yeah. Okay, I don't think we needed that last part, actually. Just cut that out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Seems
it is.
legitimately suspenseful and visually interesting.
I like BC's comment, zero recoil on the Tommy gun. I was actually pointing that out to Mary. So this is what I was talking about. So the first thing that this made me think about was Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan got into like the best shape of his life to play Creed. And he obviously has kept that form for all of these years. And the first thing I thought about, I was like, look, this is a period piece in like the it looks like what, the 40s or something like that. I love the art style in general. But the first thing I thought about was like, is that realistic for what somebody at that time would have been able to actually look like? Because there's a difference between on-camera physique and the physique of somebody who does a specific type of job. And I just thought about it. I was like, just the fact that the trailer made me think about that means that the trailer itself, as a piece of art, is doing its job. It's making you inquisitive about the work, and the longer that they can put the thought of the movie in your head, the more likely you are to go and see it. Right? And I like the animalistic sound design with the growls that were intersected into random parts of it there. They're just very, very well done pieces that I feel like, look, it's because I was looking at the stuff related to, it was yesterday we were talking about Roseanne and Roseanne's new TV show, which sounds like a parody.
Well, she did say she called it cartoonish
and
herself,
I
in her own
understand that,
words.
and in a lot of it, like when they create art now, when conservatives create art now, not comics or graphic novels, a lot of that is very, very deep and artistic. Goes to the bad. I like whether it's George Alexopoulos and his work with Razor Fist. That stuff is awesome. But when
it
we
comes
talk
to, like,
about
shows and movies?
shows and movies, it tends to be so bogged down in what it wants to say about the politics that it loses the fact that there's great art to be told in just fantasy storytelling. And I look at something like this. This isn't the most amazing movie trailer I've ever seen. It's not the most amazing piece of art I've ever seen, but it doesn't get bogged down in something that it doesn't need to. Now, a lot of people think that this movie has something to do with where they're going to make the white guys the vampires, and there's going to be comments on race relations. I don't know if that's the case, but the fact of the matter is the trailer doesn't indicate that.
Right.
The trailer shows you something interesting. It gives you nods to greater themes, like the talk about music and how it can evoke spirits and darker themes, and that's great.
You also see one of the vampires there in the trailer is black.
Yes.
So it's not a straight like race analogy that's really in your face with it. It's not like that.
Yeah.
So that's just an assumption that people are making to write off the whole idea right off the bat, you know? And I don't know. I saw a lot of people in the chat say they're not interested. They don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But I think the only takeaway that we both had after watching the trailer was exactly that. We just know an ideological conservative would not be able to make this right now. Like, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Because they end up in some state of creative paralysis. And this is what I wish the term woke right could refer to. What people mean when they say woke right now is usually someone who's socially conservative and doesn't align with maybe more libertarian or classical liberal people in the Republican Party. Yeah. What woke right ought to mean is the type of people who simply cannot make a film or TV show or whatever kind of cultural output without injecting their politics or social messaging into it from a conservative perspective.
Well, it's not
that
even
is
about
literally
injecting it.
what woke right is, and that's what woke is when the other side does it.
It's not just about injecting, it's about doing it well. Like I said, if this story indicates something like that, if it's woven into the fabric of the story really, really well, and it pulls you in, then it doesn't matter. I remember Tyrone Magnus said woke doesn't necessarily have to mean bad. You can do these types of things and it can be done well. Now, look, I don't know.
You don't have to make compromises.
Yeah.
That's what they think they need to do. They think they need to make compromises with the actual quality of the project in order to make the message possible.
Yeah, I just
in order to make room for the message.
I saw it and I said, like, look at all the focus that goes into the period piece element, the cars, the clothing, all of that stuff that really matters. Like remember when Rings of Power came out and they all look like they're wearing brand new costumes.
Yeah,
like they're supposed to be
Spirit
set.
Halloween.
They're all supposed to be set in this ancient time period, but they all look like they got their costumes from Spirit Halloween.
Yeah,
right. That's the difference between well-made art and poorly made art. Yeah. People were saying we were having audio issues here. I don't know if that's still happening.
Is it because of the mics, the other mics getting
No, because
unmuted?
I muted them again as soon as we as soon as we did that. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah.
Let us know if you can hear us well in the chat, please.
I do have some critiques though. The trailer was long.
It is long, yeah.
The trailer was long. That tends to be a bad sign with these things. Now, I like Ryan Coogler's work with Michael B. Jordan in general, so I don't know if that's necessarily indicative of this, but they did show quite a bit of stuff in the trailer, but I thought it looked good. And
Not gonna lie, if I saw at the end credit directed by Jordan Peele, then I'd be like, oh, F this, I hate it. Like, I'm not watching it. Just on principle.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to give this a chance.
Yeah.
And I think it's perhaps redundant, but interesting nonetheless that like vampire myths are making a comeback of some kind in culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It's to me it was cool because he also said like there's more elements than just vampires. He mentioned demons and other such things in there. So
yeah,
and it is pretty rare. Like it's actually indicative also of how much credit that Ryan Coogler has gotten in Hollywood these days, because the budget on this movie is said to be like $90 million. So to get $90 million to make something not based off original IP is not super common these days, at least not amongst directors that aren't the likes of like a Christopher Nolan or something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that part is interesting because I sometimes look at like what's in theaters right now and I'll take stock of every title and maybe there will be one out of like 12 that isn't based on an IP. That isn't a sequel, ripoff, prequel, spin-off, some derivative type shit. But like there will be maybe like one thing in the list that's actually original. And usually you're right. Usually they don't do well. Even if it deserves more attention than it gets, it doesn't matter because people aren't willing to give it a chance.
Yep. So we'll have to wait and see. I thought it was really interesting, and when it comes down to it, great trailers are still an art form that I really, really appreciate. And great art, even if it's just the art of the trailer, because we don't really know what to say about the movie yet, makes you think about things, and it's just something to consider when you're going out and watching new stuff. I always appreciate all the recommendations that people give me and everything, but it's very hard to like get me interested in something via suggestion. I kind of have to find it on my own. Right? Like, I don't really get interested in stuff via other people's suggestions because I have to kind of stumble upon something. So, all right, let's finish up the Super Chats. Again, guys, I don't know what the issue is with the audio. Some people are saying that it's fixed and stuff like that. Don't know. But we're like an hour and however many minutes into the stream now. So
I hope
we're on this train until the end of the episode today.
Pop Culture Junkie said, what the F was the composition of the focus group that tested the Mac campaign, if it was tested at all? Well, all I know is that I wasn't asked for my input, because I would have put a stop to it. Red Snow said, but do you guys say shrimp or scrimp? I like scrimp. What?
For what?
I don't know. Are you referring to the animal? Shane H. Wilder said Captain America first appeared in Captain America Comics #1 on December 20th, 1940, published by Timely Comics, which became Atlas, then Marvel. Okay. I wasn't aware of the history there.
Sorry, I'm sending Andrew a message just to see if he can check on the stream. But refresh your browsers to see if possibly there's anything better.
What are they saying?
I
think they're saying that it resolved itself. They're saying audio is better. It was just okay. It was like off for. This is why
This is why you're not supposed to read the chat during the stream because it distracts you. Even if it's like where it's like even.
Well, it's okay now because like the show is winding down, but we just need to be able to talk to you.
Maybe the movie trailer was cursed. If so, that's impressive. I wonder how they did that.
It was the demons. No, it's actually Shane Cashman's fault. It's always
very possible.
If there are tech issues, it is always Shane Cashman's fault. Corey Anderson said, not to be rude, but who the hell is Avery? I had heard of her before, but she has, like, internet music.
You had heard of her?
Yeah, when I looked at her music, I realized I had heard it.
It's like what you said. Having a name just Avery is horrible for your SEO.
For your SEO, no. Corey Anderson said, I want to say a homophobic slur.
Don't do
it. You're free to do that in the privacy of your own home. Red Snow said, woke will continue until morale is at 0. Yeah. I thought it was already, like, below 0. Like, I thought morale was just in hell. Yeah. But apparently I was wrong. Maybe we could go even lower. Jeff said, anyone who thinks Cap is for the government didn't watch Civil War. Tony was on government side for the Accords, while Cap was against due to government oversight.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't quite that simple, but he is right. So basically, after what happened in, was it Sokovia? Tony, after giving his presentation at MIT, gets confronted by the mother of a boy who died while doing aid work in this foreign country in one of the Avengers missions. Like, he was like a casualty. Like, you always see, like, all the superheroes are fighting, all the buildings are falling. You're like, people are definitely dying while this stuff is happening, right? Well, Tony is confronted by this mom who says, my son died while you guys were out saving the world and having photo ops, which leads to Tony, supporting the Sokovia Accords, which is a program which forces the government to basically fall under the United Nations. And they're given the option, you can either work with us or you retire. Otherwise, being a superhero is out of the question. And Captain America says, I get it, but if I see something happening, I can't turn away. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't just go where you tell me to go. And what if you want me to go someplace where I don't feel we belong? And that's a great moral quandary to put upon people whose job it is to act, is to not just ask them, can you save the day? Ask them, is saving the day the right thing to do? And are you acting on at the behest of the right people? And those are great moral questions to ask. But yeah, you would be stupid to think that Captain America makes him synonymous with the government.
Well, I think that they are just saying that to be obtuse to right-wingers, really.
Probably.
Like, hey, I thought that you guys were for small government or whatever, like using it as a gotcha.
Yeah.
They don't really mean what they're saying.
If the audio is out of sync again, I encourage you to refresh and see if it fixes the problem.
Or put it in rice.
Yes.
Turn it on and off again. Actually, don't turn it off. We want you to stay watching the stream. Mac Leode said 2024 was just the Battle of Helm's Deep. The battle for Middle America had only just begun. I don't know what that means. Is that a metaphor? Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, if you want on a jury, just stay quiet and don't speak unless spoken to. That's how I got on a criminal jury. It was a fascinating experience.
It's so interesting because in the movies and television shows, being on jury duty is like universally seen as something that they don't want to do, but there's got to be a certain part of the population that wants to do it just for the experience.
You can volunteer,
Yeah.
but I don't want to volunteer because that makes you seem crazy. And I'm sure I'll get a summons eventually. Everyone does eventually, right?
I've never gotten one.
You've still never gotten
Never
one?
gotten
Are
one.
you sure you just don't check the mail enough?
I check the mail.
I feel like most people have gotten it at least once, and usually they didn't even end up having to serve. But I would love to do it. In fact, I'm just going to sit there, be as silent as possible. I'll take your advice. I'll come off as super impartial, and then I'll just end up on a jury trial for some huge, like, scandalous case. And I'll be the one holdout. I'll force these people to be deliberating for hours, days.
The quote before was a Lord of the Rings quote. I wasn't paying attention. From the previous.
Why is it saying it's 2024 though?
Because they're changing and making it current. So yes,
but I don't know how that relates to 2024.
At first, I thought they were referring to what I said about Rings of Power, in which I was talking. I was like, did I accidentally say Lord of the Rings in the costumes? No, it was the Rings of Power. They had the really clean costumes.
Yeah.
And they looked really, really bad.
Yeah, but I don't know what it means when you say it's 2024. Okay. Brian Bledsoe said woke didn't happen overnight, and if it dies, it won't die overnight. Yeah, I think people are preferring to frame it that way because they're naive. Like Trump didn't win and then fix everything. That's actually really stupid and childish. Mr. Moose Knuckles said the lady married to Ryan Reynolds has an ego. Wow, I'm hearing this for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
She was an incredible woman. Omega Red Fan said, oh, just sent us a sticker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shane
It
H. Wilder.
says hype.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the hype. Shane H. Wilder said, I think you guys might get copy struck for the trailer. Halfway through, it janked your audio. I had to hop out and hop back in to hear y'all.
Okay, so it was the. Well, I'll probably just ditch the segment anyways.
Why?
If the audio's bad on our end, I'll
we'll check, I
but,
guess. But
it's not a huge deal. I just thought.
I hope it wasn't that because that's never happened to us before over copyright.
I don't know. It could have been.
That wouldn't be a strike anyway. That would be a claim.
That depends on the studio. Warner Brothers is notoriously litigious.
They all are kind of.
It also could have been playing it on the browser, like whatever browser. If we were playing it, I didn't bring it up on YouTube. I played it on Twitter. So
I don't know. Corey Anderson said the Sinners trailer needs to put a girl on.
Lol.
They did.
Yeah,
Haley Steinfeld was in it. I only heard her give like one line.
What did you think of her accent?
I don't know how much screen time she gets.
What did you think of her accent?
I didn't have a problem with it. I don't know. Did you think it was bad?
No, I thought it sounded fine. It wasn't as over the top as some of the ones that I've heard.
As the ones in the trailer?
No, and just other representations of like the South.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mostly just saw a bunch of people simping for vampire Haley Steinfeld. And
yep.
I also saw people saying that Shamik Moore is on suicide watch over her scenes with Michael B. Jordan, which is likely true. Poor guy. Shane H. Wilder said the film seems like it's trying to slapdash together vampire lore with Louisiana voodoo and hoodoo.
Okay, I
don't know what the second
First
thing
of all, I feel like calling it slapdash is unnecessarily rude. Perhaps they're doing so in an eloquent way. Maybe it's been done very, very well. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to go watch Creed tonight.
I see. You're already biased.
I did say in my tweet about it, I said, like, in an age where most actors don't feel like they have a whole lot of aura, Michael B. Jordan is probably as close as you get to, like, a movie star in current year. I feel like he has a good amount of screen presence in a way similar to, like, Glenn Powell, at least chooses the roles that best work with his personality and his his style of acting. Mm-hmm. He does good work.
Red Snow said, Brett, I love recommendations. Bread, fork you. I won't watch what you tell me. This is true.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's literally just I have a very short attention span, and something has to literally catch me in the moment. So the other day I started watching High Potential, which I ignored completely the first time around, literally just because they made a horrible poster for it, which is like, with a name like High Potential, the poster was the lead actor, was Caitlin Olsen. She's like looking through like a window, and she's got a sucker in her mouth, and I thought it was a joint. And I was like, I thought it had something to do with weed. So I was just like, that looks stupid. Then I found out
Wait,
that
what?
The show's called High Potential. It's about like
you thought that the title was referring to being high on weed?
Yes, yeah, because it looked like she had a joint in her mouth.
Okay, what was it?
It's a show about a high functioning savant with like a 160 IQ. It's in relation to her condition, but she's quirky and eats suckers.
Okay, they're called lollipops, just for the record. That's
whatever.
really weird.
I'm not gonna. Yeah. Point being. That,
so you thought it was a show about weed?
Yeah. I wasn't the only person. When I posted about it, somebody else said I thought the same thing.
That's hilarious.
I mean, that's just a fail on marketing for them.
Yeah. Tacti Platty said, Brett, wife and I watched Star Trek Section 31 movie as a Trek film, 1 out of 5 stars. For a film, though, 3 out of 5 stars. It was more of a mystery / run and gun movie than anything Star Trek. 95 minutes, up your alley.
Well, then, if it's all of those things, why did it have to be made as a Star Trek movie?
You really need to watch Scream Queens.
Yes.
That's what you need to do.
Of course, I could have said the same thing about the Watson series, which is basically just a house ripoff with less fun and less crude humor and less magnetic characters, but they have to do it with a Sherlock Holmes character because I believe Sherlock Holmes is public domain, so they can do whatever they want, and they rely on the noticeable characters to sell the show rather than actually writing something good.
You were lamenting Watson earlier today.
Yeah, it's not good, sadly. It's a waste of that lead actor because Morris Chestnut is a great actor, but he's just kind of like unique charisma, but doesn't work because they kind of water him down, and he's very bland in this show, and the actor is not a bland dude, so it doesn't make any sense to do that. But I don't recommend that one, sadly.
Bookstore Thor said Gibson and Wahlberg made flight risk apolitical. Have you seen that?
I have not watched it yet. I mean, just the amount of...
Where is that?
It's in theaters.
Wait, currently?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was on streaming.
No, it won the box office last weekend with like $12 million. But supposedly Mark Wahlberg plays a very suitable psycho. It's just all the reviews for it were very middling, so I just didn't bother. But maybe that does seem like the type of movie, kind of like Carry On, that I'll wait for streaming. Carry On I had a lot of fun with, but I don't think I would have ever seen Carry On in a theater.
I'll admit, I would give it a chance just because I like Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg.
Well, a lot of people were like, they're like, I can't believe Mel Gibson made this movie.
Like in a bad way. Like it was embarrassing.
They're like, how does somebody that good make this movie? But again, those people might just want to be jerks.
People who already don't like Mel Gibson. Yeah. But that's, in a way, they're complimenting him, though.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
People who liked
those
him and they're
successes
surprised.
are in the past. Now they're using it against him in the future because they no longer like him.
Well, I don't know how involved he was in Father Stew, but they were both in that, and that was great.
Mel Gibson was in that. I completely forgot.
I don't know how involved he was in producing or writing.
Go see go rent or watch Father Stew. It's probably on a streaming service somewhere. It was great.
Who directed? It wasn't Mel Gibson, was it? Yeah, it was someone. Rosalind Ross?
Not a name I'm familiar with.
Her directorial debut.
Very good.
And it says she's a a basketball player.
I don't know who that is.
I've never heard of her before, but I don't know. She did a good job.
There's a 20 here from the Manic Mustache. We're getting towards the third crisis party, guys. Let's go.
I haven't pulled that up yet.
Oh, let me check it. It says, late as usual, but apropos to sweaty dance halls, I saw the Sinners trailer a couple weeks ago. I thought it was a zombie movie, and Michael B's southern accent made him sound like he was down with the syndrome. We'll be watching. All right, let's go.
I didn't think it was so bad. I saw a lot of you hating on it.
They're saying Dingus Khan says Father Stu is on Hulu.
No, I was wondering about Flight Risk, but I didn't know it was still in theaters. Pat the Plumber said, I've enjoyed Jordan Peele's horror movies. He definitely injects race. I don't go to the theater, though. Also, audio was fine for me.
Okay.
Jordan Peele is obsessed with race, and he hates white people. And it's very clear from even just the one-liners that characters say in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Nope?
No. Nor did I see
it's just
Candyman.
random shit, like, you know, like, that's some white people shit or whatever. Like, just, it's so unnecessary. And then whenever a white person, like, says that they don't like a Jordan Peele movie, Jordan Peele and all of his minions call you racist. Yeah. It's also tiresome. Have you seen any of his movies?
Only Get Out.
Yeah, I mean, that one even I felt was so clever for the time that it came out.
After that, I didn't care about Nope. And he did not direct Candyman, I believe. I think he just produced that one. That was Nia DaCosta who did that.
I never saw that either. Pat the Plumber said, put a like on. Yes, like this video. If you have not liked the video already, you're a fake fan. Shane H. Wilder said, hoodoo is Haitian black magic. Pretty evil-ish. So it's different than voodoo somehow. Okay. I don't know where that comes from.
I was listening to the Godfather, the pro wrestler The Godfather, in his interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he was talking about doing the Papa Shango character and other characters he'd done in the past that were supposed to have like voodoo elements, and then they would never actually get it right or anything like that. Is actually really interesting. That's what I've been listening to more than anything is like Chris Van Vliet interviews with like retired pro wrestlers. There's something really awesome about a lot of these older wrestlers who lived like crazy wild lives in their 20s and 30s, like ran hard, drugs, partying, and all this stuff, and made it through, survived, had these unbelievable careers in physicality, and a lot of them are just very humble now. And you kind of see there's like a calm nature about the way they do their interviews now that just wasn't there when they were younger. And I enjoy going through if you want to listen to a really good one, listen to the Kurt Angle interview with Chris Van Vliet, where he talks about how it upset him that they called him Perk Angle, which is an era of Kurt Angle wrestling when he was addicted.
Are you referring to Percocet? Yes,
he was addicted to painkillers, and he talked about how he never actually wrestled on painkillers. He would have to take them in the morning when he got up and before bed, because he was in so much pain, but he was doing the best matches of his lives. But it became a meme online. They would show these unhinged Kurt Angle segments from his TNA days and talk about Perk Angle, and now the whole wrestling community is making videos. It's like me retiring the term Perk Angle because Kurt says he doesn't like it because everybody's got so much respect for him. But I love listening to these old interviews. It's just you'll never hear that with political figures.
I don't think we'll 20 from Mr. Moose Knuckle. Brett, this is my plead for you to watch the first episode of Danger 5. It's so unhinged in the best way, all free.
All free where?
That I don't know.
But I enjoy what I like about it is when they get through all of this stuff, they had these years of physical trials and tribulations, injuries, and having to meet these unbelievable physical demands of their profession. And I think about it like, is there like an era where like somebody who was in politics for 20 years calms down 20 years later and talks about it like that? I feel like it's not the same thing, because intellectual pursuit is not the same thing as physical pursuit. Now, it doesn't have to be tied to politics specifically. Like, you wouldn't hear an academic talk about it in the same way 20 years later. It's just, there's something about the physical nature of what they did that seems to bring about a sense of humility and calm once they've retired.
I've listened to interviews with this exorcist named Father Dan Real, and before he became a priest, he worked on Wall Street.
Wow.
And
That's quite a career change.
Yeah, he hasn't ever, to my knowledge, gone into a lot of detail about the kind of life that he led back then, before he, like, you know, reverted to the Catholic faith and everything. But he's kind of gestured at it that it's something like similar to the movies, and you know, that would involve like the drugs, the women, the partying, the ego, constant like chasing power, stuff like that. And that's in a way an intellectual pursuit more so than a physical one. And like he does have that demeanor. He does have that
he shows a much calmer
aura of peace and calm. However, now his current job is literally exercising demons from people's bodies.
But you would say that he was
that's pretty high octane stuff too.
You would say that his previous career was literally the definition of like living life in the fast lane.
Yeah.
Drugs, money, women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Money, drugs, women.
But now I guess he seems so calm, but like what he does now is even more chaotic. Most people would think.
Yeah.
He just has like a spiritual calm about him now. At least that's how he comes off. Corey Anderson said, "Who do you do what? Remind me of the Babe?" I don't know what that means. Dr. Freakoff said, "Jordan Peele is a hack." Why do you say that? Greg Duvier said, "I saw Flight Risk. I enjoyed it. Only 1 hour and 30 minutes. It total needed another 30 minutes to finish the story. Felt like it ended on a cliffhanger."
Hour and 30 minutes is good for me. Anything less than 2 hours is amazing.
Yeah, promising. Shane H. Wilder said Get Out was Jordan Peele's only good movie. I agree. I think that after Get Out, he wasn't willing to make fun of, you know, the white libs because it was too self-deprecating at that point.
Yeah.
Omega Red fan said Kurt on a perk. And Red Snow said, "What am I forgetting? Praise be to Space King." Am I all caught up on these?
And one more from Shane H. Wilder.
Father Dan for the win. I agree. Goated priest.
Yeah, like I guess I like that. I like the idea of somebody who comes through a whole, like hearing Edge describe his first. He's a wrestler who, he was 37 when he had to retire because of a neck injury, and then he talks about how from there he moves into acting. And he picks up acting and he starts to really like it because creativity is at the core of who he is. And then he talks about 5 years later, 7 years later, he realizes that maybe even though everyone said he had to retire, he gets into a biking accident and realizes that it didn't hurt. And now he realizes like maybe I could get back into it. And he goes through talking about all of the doctors he had to visit as he goes. And you hear these people and they talk about this one singular thing they ever wanted to do for a living. And I just, I really, really enjoy hearing those stories. It's so vastly different from everything that we cover here that it's not really beneficial to my job because it doesn't really help with much of what we're doing here, I suppose, unless we were going to cover something that they were going to be in if they move on to acting. But it only came up really, I was thinking about the Edge thing because I was just watching the old episodes of Haven he was in, where the network that Haven was on ran back to back with WWE. So they asked for him to come do it because he was no longer able to wrestle. So they're like, "Oh, great. You know what you're doing. Why don't we put you on the show?" And he goes, from there, he's like, "Oh, I can do it, but now I need to actually commit to learning how to do it." So he talks about when he started, he said the lines and he's like, "I hope I'm doing it right." And then from there, he had a couple of good experiences like, "Oh, now I'm committed to this. Now I need to actually learn how to act." So he had to go to acting school and actually learn the craft. And I think
it could come naturally to some people.
It does for a lot. Christian Kane, the actor Christian Kane from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Leverage and The Librarians and Almost Paradise. I think they said he's no formal training, never took an acting class a day in his life, just came naturally to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know where that trait comes from.
Some people just have, let's say there are who is it? Like RZA, some of the rappers have talked about how like when they were brought in initially in early days when they started acting, they were brought in for specific types of characters that were supposed to mirror who they were in the real world, or at least who their persona was. But then a lot of them would have to learn how to then act because they don't want to just play that character forever.
Some people are okay with being typecast, though.
I remember RZA talking about that.
High Voltage 75 said, Brett, how do you feel about Dexter coming back yet again in a new series this summer?
I don't care. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care. I tried to watch the prequel. I got through about half an episode. I said all I really want to see is the Sarah Michelle Gellar scenes, and that's about it. And then I can't say that I care. I do think they did a good job casting him. I didn't think the likeness was good at first, but the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. But Dexter, you know, what was it, 2006 Showtime, before the age of streaming, when being something on cable or paid cable it meant something. It was unique. It was rare. It was amazing. And I hated whatever the one was that came out where he's in the cabin. That one frickin' sucked too. Yeah. Sorry. The original series is all I like, and only really up through season 4.
Corey Anderson said it's from Labyrinth, David Bowie singing with goblins. I have not seen Labyrinth. Have you?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Tacty Platty said, Brett, wife and I saw Jeff Jarrett at a Frederick Keys game last year. It was fun. He looks good. Fun field skit, too. He signed lots of autographs.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things is nowadays, a lot of them, especially for the younger wrestlers, like they don't live the fast life that they did 20, 30 years ago. So, you know, they get drug tested, for instance, at these companies now. So, unless you're Brock Lesnar, apparently.
Red Snow said, more Dexter. For what reason and why? I had no idea.
Yeah, like, look, I get the idea that some shows feel uniquely tuned to the idea of spin-off and continuation. But Dexter never felt that way for me, especially with the bad taste in the mouth that the end of the series left on everyone.
Thank you. Well, Game of Thrones did that, and yet House of the Dragon is very successful.
Well, that's a show that feels like it actually works for the realm of spin-off because of the scope.
But it ended on a really bad note.
But the scope of the series feels like something that could expand and go wider. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's more stories to be told than just the original story. But Dexter, it's like, look, I don't even like one of the other reasons not to like the prequel is, let's face it, Michael C. Hall made that character what it was, and seeing a younger actor's portrayal, they can put their best foot forward and do everything in their power, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to recapture the magic that he was able to bring forth.
Sorenko Productions said, if we're doing movie recommendations, speaking of wrestlers with injuries and drug problems, I recommend The Wrestler. Have you seen it, Brett?
I've never watched any of the wrestling-related movies or anything like that. I mainly listen to wrestling podcasts. That's what I listen to.
Not wrestling, but you might have liked the Iron Claw.
Yeah. So who was it? They were talking about who was it that was, I was just literally listening to an interview where they were talking about they worked with Zac Efron right after that movie got made. Oh, John Cena was talking about working with Zac Efron on Ricky Stenicki right after Iron Claw wrapped, and basically
a vibe shift.
They broed out over the work it took to get into shape to play those characters. And the Von Erichs is a specifically tragic family story that, frankly, talk about a vibe shift. I don't want to. Just doesn't interest me, okay?
I don't like seeing sad
in the
things.
chat, he says, should we drink every time Brett talks about wrestling? What, like once every couple of days in the super chats?
Well, then yes.
You should. You're not going to get drunk.
You should drink.
You're not going to get drunk. All right. Before we go, guys, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet already? Please and thank you. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And I will be on Timcast IRL tonight, and you already know where to find me.
Excited about that?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll just have some really riveting political takes to shoot between each other. It'll be incredible.
You're going to have lots of insight.
I'm really known for primarily my political takes and political analysis, my depth and breadth of knowledge of geopolitics, infrastructure bills, industrial policy,
all things you love talking about,
tariffs, trade. Everyone knows that that's my strong suit, and I don't have no idea why I was placed on a show like this. So that's why I'm going over to IRL.
It was really funny there.
Actually, I don't go on IRL just because like people will just be so humiliated by
your knowledge and
their ignorance compared to me. Just my knowledge about politics truly blows most people out of the water. So that's why I tend to keep a step back from that show because I want to spare their feelings.
Yeah.
I have mercy on them. Yeah.
Yesterday Raymond tweeted like, I gotta be like, he talked about how he couldn't really talk properly the first 30 minutes whenever he's on IRL. I'm like, bro, who cares? I can't talk properly the whole 2 hours I'm on IRL. What do you care? It doesn't matter. One more super chat there.
Red Snow said, "You brother, you what's that? Both Brett and Mary."
And one more from Shane H. Wilder says, the wrestler was a Darren Aronofsky that made before Black Swan. Good luck on IRL, Mary. Give him hell.
I'll try.
All right. All right, guys, if you would like to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dastovic on both of those platforms. This show is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you would prefer to listen rather than watch the show. If you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show. Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.